What's up? One Crack News. Let's talk about it. You have somebody that you known for years. They dealt with society. They were in the military, and they look at things from a military point of view, and they don't see it from a human point of view, or just right or wrong. They're following code of protocol, so they don't seem to understand, or they don't want to understand. So you're faced with that dilemma. Now, my family is military. My uncle, Sergeant Major, my stepdad, same thing. Gunny, Marines, that was our family. So they always family. But when you try to create other narratives, then I got to get involved. Now people are trying to make it like she was a drug dealer. Where the hell that come from? See? More confusion to try to justify and say, see what happened? See? To try to give justification for what happened when the actual facts don't fit the case at all. They were only supposedly surveillancing her because of her ex-boyfriend. Her ex-boyfriend, who she was no longer with, that person who had that place as residency where he no longer stayed because they were no longer together. That's the only reason they were there. They're surveillancing her because of him. He's already in police custody. They get a no-knock warrant and goes over to the house because the cops are assuming, because they were surveillancing them, they're assuming her new boyfriend is the guy that they're looking for. She was innocent in this case. The facts of the matter is this: the cops assumed that black is black, that the man that she was with was the guy that they were looking for. They thought that. Her new boyfriend was the old boyfriend, who they didn't even check was already in custody for something else. He was already in the system. They get a no knock warrant, and by Kentucky law, we're going to get to that because this is the only reason why they're free. And I knew that they would not be indicted. They went, did a no knock warrant, which they don't have to announce themselves legally. It's a no knock warrant, so they don't have to knock and announce themselves. A warning shot was fired, one shot by the boyfriend because he thinks they're robbers. They never acknowledged when the shot was fired that they were even cops. They returned fire and just immediately end up taking the life of Breonna, who wasn't armed. There was no drugs in the house. Nothing. The boyfriend didn't have any warrants. And the cops who was recklessly shooting actually shot in a neighbor's house. And then he was fired for shooting into a neighbor's house. He was the only one. Now, the cops are lying and they got a surveillance, some witness the lie and said, yeah, they did announce they were cops. So it's their words versus the guy who was in the house getting shot at. You think that if you announce that you're cops, he's one guy with a gun and you're three guys with guns, and you announce that you're cops, that he's going to continue to shoot and want to waiver a gun, or he would have surrendered? He thought they were intruders, rightfully so, because they did not announce themselves. And that's what happened. He fired a warning shot, which you're legally supposed to do. Fire one warning shot before, engaging. Now, let me explain to you why they were let go. Here's why they were let go. Because by Kentucky law, the no knock law, they were legally there by a judge. A judge signed off on the warrant that would make this legal for them to come by and don't have to announce. A shot was fired and they returned fire. During a no knock warrant, they have been authorized to return fire and use deadly force because there was gunshots fired. Now, the law says you don't have to announce. It's a no-knock warrant. The only bad thing is this is what happens when you have that no-knock warrant. So the changes has to come with the laws of no-knock, which can't be done in the middle of this case. It has to be changed after the fact. So there was nothing that they were going to be able to do to get these cops locked up, and they know it. They're going to just pay Breonna's family money, and then they're going to try to hopefully make some amendments to the law. But this is where the law fails. Because they're like, well, it wasn't intent. All the people trying to defend. But it wasn't. Y'all making it like it was an intent. Like they went there to kill the girl. It doesn't matter. If I'm having a shootout with an enemy and I happen to hit a little kid and the kid dies, I don't deserve to go to jail. I bet you'll be saying, lock me up, right? But it wasn't my intent to hit the kid. What, I don't deserve to go to jail? Of course I deserve to be in jail for that. That's not what happened. You're letting them turn this into a scenario that had nothing to do with the actual case. She got caught in the drug game. So people, they're trying to manipulate your mind so that you could believe it. Like, oh yeah, I've seen that happen. Yep. Yeah, like, yeah, so you in the game, this is what happens. No, it's not. And they trying to get you to bite into the bullet and go, yep, yeah, well, this happens when you playing around in that game. The boyfriend she dated before, he was in that life. She didn't want that life. She had a job, she was working. She didn't want that life for herself. She didn't need it. She stepped away from him. They broke up. She's with her new man, who's not, guess what? He don't sell drugs. He's not a criminal. He has a legal firearm. Nah, no, Raw, you got it wrong. You got it wrong. He wasn't a criminal that shot at the police. The criminal that they were looking for was her ex-boyfriend who was already in police custody. That was her new boyfriend who's living with her, who wasn't a criminal. He had a legal gun. The gun was legal. He shot in the air with his legal firearm. It was a warning shot, what you're supposed to do by Kentucky law. Fire a warning shot before you engage into any type of combat with a legal firearm. It was a no knock warrant. The cops did not knock. He fired a warning shot first. He didn't shoot at the door. And they returned fire, assassinating, Breonna in the process. So, so ask yourself this: why was they awarded $12 million? Why was, if she was under surveillance and she was a drug dealer, why would they give a drug dealer $12 million? She wasn't still doing that. Why did she get awarded 12 million? They didn't have a warrant for her. And she was still sleeping with her ex and getting packages. Do you realize she's an accomplice? They could have brought her in. Her name could have been on the warrant as well as his. Her name wasn't on the warrant. They wasn't even there looking for her. So what are you talking about? You see, it's another way to keep you distracted. Another way to turn this into something that it isn't. They were not in there to arrest Breonna Taylor. They did not come in there to grab her. That's a lie. They came in there looking for him, the boyfriend, who was already in custody. If that was the case, they would not have awarded her $12 million. You don't award a family $12 million for somebody being assassinated if they were the criminals. I don't want to look at no transcripts that they didn't cooked up in the books. Why did they give her 12 million? Now they're gonna have her like set it off in the movie, right? It's ridiculous. Her family was awarded $12 million. If she was the criminal and all of these things and they're justified, they would not have given her $12 million settlement. They don't pay the criminals. They're doing this to justify what they did. Now they're saying they announced that they were cops. They're lying. They never did. They went and grabbed some civilian that wasn't a cop to back up their story. Who was that guy? The only reason these people are free, believe me, they want to lock them up, but they legally can't because those officers could turn around and sue because a judge signed off on the warrant. That is the only reason that they're free. They've already paid the family before the decision because they already knew what this was going to be. I knew where it was going. I warned my buddy early. I said, "Hey, be careful, man. Decision's coming tomorrow, and it ain't looking good." Out here, they had already deployed the National Guards, so they already knew what the decision was going to be. This was days ago. The National Guards here was rolling out. The Navy base where the National Guard is and where the naval base is right down the street from me. No way. Out here, they were rolling out, headed to downtown. Right. They knew it. They knew everything was going down because they understand what was going to happen and take place. And it still wasn't enough. Of course, CNN said they knocked because that's what's being reported. I'm saying use your common sense. If a man in the house with one gun, police say that they're police. He got one gun, and it's like three or four of them with guns outside, and they're cops. They announced that they have a warrant to come in, and this guy who he has no cases on him. There's no warrant for this guy's arrest. He has a legal gun. He's not a criminal. He's not wanted by the police. Why is he gonna fire at the cops? Does that make common sense to you? He don't know how many cops is out there. So they're gonna announce that they're the cops. A man who is not wanted. And he gonna return fire on them? Use your common sense, good people. Don't use the news. Use your common sense. A black man finna fire on a bunch of cops when he ain't wanted by the cops and got no warrants whatsoever. He just gonna fire on the cops. Are you crazy? Right. It's not his crib. Where they do that at? So that lets you know right there that's a lie. They did not announce they were cops. Or that bullet would have never been fired at them. They did knock. Hello? A neighbor said they knocked and announced themselves. Lie. That is not, that don't happen if they knock on the door. You see what I'm saying? This don't happen when you knock at the door. This is what happened when you don't knock at a door. This morning, two Louisville police officers are recovering shot during unrest overnight that gripped much of the city's downtown. This gunfire captured in a police live stream in the area where the officers' shooting took place. Officer down, right there. Officer down. I'm very concerned about the safety of our officers. Obviously, we've had two officers shot tonight, and that is very serious. It's a very dangerous condition. Anger spilling into the streets after the grand jury decision in the Breonna Taylor case. Louisville under a 9 p.m. curfew, the National Guard moving in as police and protesters clashed. Similar emotions echoing in cities nationwide, from Chicago to Atlanta to New York City, even turning violent in Denver and Buffalo, where cars plowed into protesters, and in Portland, where a Molotov cocktail thrown at police caused chaos. Taylor, a 26-year-old former EMT, was shot to death back in March when police, with a no-knock warrant, entered her apartment.
She was inside with her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker. He says police never announced themselves. According to the state's attorney general, officers and a civilian witness say they did. Walker thought they were intruders and fired a shot. Police responded with gunfire, killing Taylor. Of the three officers involved, only one will face charges, but not for Taylor's death. Former Officer Brett Hankison charged with wanton endangerment for firing bullets into Taylor's apartment that ended up in a neighboring apartment. The other two officers, no charges.
According to Kentucky law, the use of force by Mattingly and Cosgrove was justified to protect themselves. There will be celebrities, influencers, and activists who, having never lived in Kentucky, will try to tell us how to feel, suggesting they understand the facts of this case, but they don't.
Asked about the case, President Trump praised Kentucky's Attorney General.
Daniel Cameron is doing a fantastic job. I think he's a star. Mob justice is not justice. Justice sought by violence is not justice. I heard that. I said, write that down for me, please, because I think it was a terrific statement.
But for many filling the streets,
Was it surprising for you?
No, it's not surprising. Very rarely do Black people get justice when it comes to police.
in a scathing statement, attorney Ben Crump, who represents Taylor's family, writes, "How ironic and typical that the only charges brought in this case were for shots fired into the apartment of a white neighbor."
And tonight, the city of Louisville will be under curfew for a second straight night that begins at 9 p.m.
So now you see, this is where we are. And that's what happens when you don't knock.